my colleague in the profession, Sophia Wanuna. He said he trusted the DCI, they're operating on good faith. That
that's incompetence.
Olive, right?
Yes,
Olive, I'm almost jumping out of this seat. I'm sorry, I didn't listen to that, and I didn't watch that interview.
That is incredible.
But that is what somebody called Jeremy Bentham would have called nonsense upon stilts. Nonsense on high heels. The DPP cannot tell us anything like that. It is the responsibility of the Director of Public Prosecutions to sit down and look through the charges brought before him and determine two things. One, do the charges before him disclose an offense? Okay? Then number two is the evidentiary test. Is the evidence gathered by the evidence gathering and hunting institutions like ESCC and the DCI sufficient to convince him that this is an offense he should bring before the magistrates and judges of this country for a case of a criminal nature to proceed? And he therefore cannot leave that particular decision to anybody else, either in good faith or in bad faith or in whichever other faith, you know.
Okay.
It is unacceptable. But this is what we need to say. And I'm saying this with tremendous respect with my colleague, Mheshimiwa, who is here. I want to request His Excellency, the President William Ruto, to avoid being overdriven by Kenya Kwanza motivated politics. Okay? He now is the head of state of the Republic. He's the president of those people who elected him, those who didn't. He's the president of one Raila Odinga, former President Kenyatta, and so on and so forth. Kenya Kwanza people, anytime they speak about some of these things, you will notice, they will end up by saying, but we know His Excellency the President. To get that validation about some of these things that we are talking about, the President needs to sit in status and keep quiet a bit, you know, and look at some of these things clearly, and ask some of these ministers to come and tell him what this is about, and tell them that for the sake of this nation, we are going to run a country on the basis of the Constitution and the law. Even Jomo Kenyatta, when he became Prime Minister and later President in the early years of independence, decided to do not to do certain things against his predecessors, the colonialists. Because sometimes that is how a nation is built, okay? A nation is built incrementally. And sometimes you don't have to rubbish everything your predecessors have done. But at the same time, you may not necessarily condone everything that they have done, but you don't have to do it that way, okay? You don't have to sit in barazas saying, speaking about matters of policy haphazardly without giving due consideration to what these things mean. The institution of the DPP is an important institution that should give confidence to Kenyans that whenever something infringes the law, they expect that the proper process will follow, and then we'll get a good result. Okay? But most importantly, on matters governance, okay? On matters governance, I think His Excellency the President needs, other than this seminar he took his cabinet to some place in Fairmont, needs to sit all these guys in corporate governance classes to tell them that it's not just about being seen to be done, to be doing something. It is also about, are you doing it correctly? Are you achieving anything? Don't change anything that is already working. That's the rule. Don't change something because you are now new in the office, now you have to change everything. Believe me, there is a bureaucracy out there called the civil service. And some of those people have worked here for a long time. They might not be able to argue against a CES who is totally ignorant about what is supposed to be done, but believe me, they will insubordinate him. And so, at the end of the day, His Excellency will fail because he has listened too much to political voices as opposed to good reason.
Okay.
And so I'm asking him to tell people that the era of insulting Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga is now over. Kenyans are expecting delivery of service.
All right.
Let's go out there and deliver services.
All right. Msemo of the day for me was nonsense on